And Pakistan has set a deadline for thousands of Afghan nationals to leave by the end of the month as part of a repatriation plan. Millions of Afghan migrants live in Pakistan. Many fled after the Taliban's return to power in 2021. The UN is concerned about the multi-phase plan, which includes some people awaiting promised relocation to the US and other countries. The Interior Ministry warns mass deportations will begin after the end of the month. Imtiaz is the Executive Director of Centre for Research and Security Studies, and he's joining us live from Islamabad. Thank you very much for your time, Mr. Gul. So firstly, Islamabad ordering all Afghan migrants leave Pakistan by the end of March, despite the Taliban urging the government to slow down the repatriation. Could this impact the cross-border tensions we've seen over the past week?
Yeah, I think this is only going to aggravate the situation further. The Afghan Taliban find themselves under extreme pressure. This is economic adversity and the drying up of international humanitarian assistance that is pinching the Afghan government right now. And they fear that if over 1 million people are deported by force by Pakistan, then it will only add to their socio-economic pressures. And that's why tensions have never been so high in the bilateral history. They were very high points about as far as terrorism is concerned, but right now this involves almost 1 million people that are being threatened with expulsion from Pakistan, and that is going to further deteriorate the situation.
You've answered my next question about just how serious what's happening in Torkham is in the overall context of security between the two countries. The guns have been silent, I believe, since Thursday. But what about the threat of new hostilities, as long as there's no lasting solution to this dispute?
Well, I must underline that trade, bilateral trade, transit trade, refugees, and a contentious border have always been used by both sides as a political weapon, and this is what has basically led to these tensions. And right now, I think there is practically a breakup in the bilateral relationship with no formal context between the two countries. And the primary reason for this is what Pakistani officials say is the cross-border terrorism coming from terrorist entities such as the TTP, ISKP, and Hafiz Gul Bahadur group. They are all basically sheltering in Afghanistan, and this Pakistan has been presenting evidence also on this to the Afghan government. But the primary reason that has led to the breakup and to this unusual tensions is the Afghan government's reluctance to go after these groups, or at least rein them in from their activities inside Pakistan. They shelter there, they plan terrorism inside Pakistan, and are also committed, and there is growing synergy of action between various groups in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa as well as Balochistan, and they're all most of them are related to their headquarters, shelters inside Afghanistan.
You say that they're reluctant to go after these groups. Are they unwilling, or are they unable to? You yourself have talked about the many challenges facing the Taliban government in Afghanistan.
Well, it's both the unwillingness as well as the capacity issues. The unwillingness because the Afghan Taliban say that these people have been partners in their jihad against the US-led NATO forces in Afghanistan for over 20 years, and they cannot simply go after them and alienate them. They fear that if they do so, these people, these fighters could join the Daesh or ISKP. And the second reason is the incapacity, because the country has emerged from long years of war, civil war. And I personally also believe that the Taliban don't have the capacity to go after these people. And more so, even if they had the capacity, the problem would be that 20 years of US NATO forces in Afghanistan couldn't break the Taliban, the non-state actors. So how can a small army of people which is strained, which is cash-strapped, which has little resources, be able to basically get a handle, get a grip on people who get disenfranchised, disenchanted, and walk over to the enemy, that is the ISKP or Daesh, which the US and other intelligence agencies have touted as the biggest threat, including, of course, the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, which is the prime enemy of Pakistan, carrying out attacks, number of attacks in the last 12 months or so.
Imtiaz Gul, thank you so much for your expertise on this. We really appreciate it.
Welcome.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.